Well, here I am in the airport. It is Christmas Eve, and I'm headed to Kelowna, which is like a 45-minute flight. And I'm sitting in the airport in the domestic terminal, which is a place I never am, like ever. I can't remember the last time that I flew anywhere that wasn't in America or another country. The thing about Canada is there's not that many places to go, unless you're going to Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver. Chances are you're flying out of Canada rather than into it or within it. So it's kind of an aberration for me to be flying anywhere out of this part of the airport. It's all starting to wake up. The various terminals are getting their lights turned on, the stores are opening, and I'm exhausted. It's super early, so I'm just kind of like coasting on autopilot. Thankfully, my cab driver this morning was like relatively quiet in an amicable way. It was like, hey, good morning. It's fucking early. Let's not chat for the 25 or 30 minutes it took to drive out here. So I'm feeling okay about this trip. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be nice to visit Kelowna and wander around a little. And we talked about it in the last vlog. Yeah, I'm curious to see what it's like, to see what the hometown is in my memory versus reality. And then I'm back. I'm back for a couple of days, and then we get back to the regular schedule, which I'm looking forward to as well. It'll be nice to have all this Christmas chaos over and done with. I'm gonna go and try and post up near my gate and find a seat and maybe read until it's time to board my flight. Hopefully the boarding goes smoothly. And I can head off to Kelowna without any more delay. But I'll record some more when I get there. We will see you in Kelowna. It's been about 12 hours since my flight, and being up early and being in the airport. And now I'm at my parents' house in Kelowna. Welcome to my dad's office. And I just finished basically spending the whole day driving around. I knew that I wanted to take some time to visit old places, places that I had lived, places that I remember from being a kid, and just kind of like look around and see what Kelowna looked like in real life as compared to what it was in my memory. So I went to a couple of different places and I recorded some video, and I don't know, maybe this will be interesting to you, maybe not. That's the way nostalgia is sometimes. You're gonna have to try to piggyback off of my memories in order for this to have any kind of context. Otherwise, it's just gonna be small town images. So the first place that I went to was my old elementary school. I went back there because it's the only school of the 3 schools that I went to in Kelowna that are still standing. I sort of feel like my history is being erased. This is the problem with growing up on the west coast of North America, is that if you consider Western civilization to be a linear progression westward, we ran out of land when you hit where I am. So I'm only 3 hours drive away from the coast, which is the for real terminus. And Kelowna's not that big a town, and it's growing, which means doing things like knocking down my high school the year after I graduated to replace it with a bunch of condos. So there's a lot about Kelowna that's changed, but my elementary school has remained pretty much the same. Though perspective tends to render these things in an unusual light, right? Like I went back there, and when I was a kid, I remember the distance from one end of the field to the other as being enormous, this colossal gap. It's really not. It's very small. I remember the buildings being big, I remember the basketball hoops being high, and I remember the gym being this enormous space, and I wish I could have gone inside, because seeing all of that stuff, seeing the desks and the doors and everything, I don't know, it's just so weird. You ever want to feel really distorted? Go back to a place you only remember from when you were a kid. So I went back and I walked around my elementary school a little bit and got reacquainted with that. And then I drove to my old house. Now, I lived in a bunch of different houses when I was a kid. My parents moved around a lot, but never farther than the city. You know, we lived in 3 houses within maybe a 10-block radius when I was a kid. But the house that I lived in the longest, I went back and I visited, and kind of the same effect. Everything here is so surreally familiar, but off by just a little bit, right? Just a little bit different, and that's very strange. So I went and I visited my old house and I walked around the old neighborhood. And the thing that I found the most weird about that is when I was little, I remember, you know, walking to the big white rock or walking down to the swamp, and those places feeling like they were a world away. Like the distance between my house and the entrance to Magic Estates was like another country. But I walked around the whole neighborhood in maybe 10 minutes. Again, growing up maybe is just a matter of scale. All that walking around made me hungry, and the only restaurant that is both good and still open in Kelowna. Now, okay, there's probably other good restaurants, but the only one I remember from when I was a kid is this little pierogi joint. At least it was little when I was a kid. They had it open in kind of industrial part of town. It moved a block and like tripled in size. It's called Cecil's Pierogies, and I went there and I ate too many pierogies, and even now I'm still full, even though I ate like ages and ages ago. And I'm really, really glad that of all of the things that I miss, you know, the punk rock record store is closed, my school is gone, but pierogies endure. Hallelujah. It's a Christmas miracle. After that, I just kind of walked around downtown. It's a strange place. Downtown Kelowna is basically one long street with a bunch of kind of ramshackle random stores. There's a bunch of like vape stores and like weed dispensaries, but then there's also like fancy restaurants next to like closed sushi joints. I did drive by the first sushi place I ever went to, the first Japanese restaurant I ever went to. I went there with my Japanese class in 7th grade, and I learned how to use chopsticks, and I will never forget that memory. I remember eating sushi for the first time and being like, what is this strange food? But yeah, downtown, I walked around a little bit. I visited my aunt. She has a clothing store downtown. I surprised her, and that was nice. But the highlight of downtown is, this is true of Kelowna and Vernon and all of the little towns that are on Lake Okanagan. The lake is the big highlight. So I went down to the lake and I took a look and I took some video, and even in the sort of drizzly, not quite rain, it was a sight to see. It was quite beautiful. I'll tell you this though, Lake Okanagan has a monster. It has the Ogopogo. Do you know about this? We have our own cryptid. I'm glad to have grown up in a town with its own cryptid. So Ogopogo is essentially like the Canadian Loch Ness monster. One of 2. I think Manitoba has one. I think there's a Manipogo. But Ogopogo is a sea serpent that supposedly lives in the lake. And it's got to be real, because there was an episode of Unsolved Mysteries about it. William Shatner wouldn't lie. This is the part of the video where I realized that Shatner did Rescue 911 and Robert Stack did Unsolved Mysteries. I always thought those were the same guys. I can't remember which is which. Anyway, so yeah, I just spent the day in the town of my childhood, just driving around, kind of driving past old friends' houses, trying to guess if their parents still live there. I think most of the people that I went to school with or people that I know from being a kid have moved away. Except apparently my relatives, most of whom still live here, and many of whom I will be seeing over the next few days. So that will be a mixed bag for me. I posted on Twitter earlier today some cute photos of me as a kid, awkward teenage photos too, which I thought were pretty funny. There once was a time where I would have been really embarrassed to look at those, where I would have been like, oh God, my teenage years, but I can look back on my giant pants and my Charlotte Hornets jacket, and I can laugh. One thing that I think was interesting and kind of surprising is that in so many of those old photos, I have a camera in my hand. I'm either holding a disposable camera or a Canonette or some like old 80s or 90s camera that someone gave me. Where the photos I took are, I'll never know, but some things change. Some things stay the same, I guess. So for me, it is Christmas Eve. For you, today is Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas. I was about to say congratulations. Congratulations, Jesus. You were born. I hope that you're having a good day and a Merry Christmas, or not celebrating. That's cool too. And I hope that you're with family or with friends, but I hope that's true all the time. Fuck just being happy on Christmas. Let's be happy all the time. That's impossible. All right, I'm gonna go. I have family things to do, and I will be back tomorrow for a Christmas Day my time, Boxing Day your time vlog, and hopefully, if I'm lucky, I will try to convince my little brother to be in that vlog with me. I haven't seen him in ages, and it would be fun to introduce him to you. Don't hold me to that though, all right? I'll try. All right, see you tomorrow.